I started my YouTube channel over 10 years ago in 2011, back when I was young and awkward and really bad at making YouTube videos. And if I had to start over my YouTube channel from scratch today in 2023, there are a number of things that I would do differently. And none of them include avoiding that awkward haircut, but honestly that should probably be pretty close to the top of the list too. Don't get me wrong, I feel super grateful for having grown the audience and the business that I have here on YouTube, but I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't change a thing about the journey that it took me to get here. I feel like I did things the hard way to some extent, and also at different moments kind of backed myself into a corner with the algorithm without really knowing that that's what I was doing. So if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel this year, then this video goes out to you, because I'm hoping that you can learn from my mistakes, and hopefully I can make the process of growing an audience here on YouTube a lot easier for you than it was for me. The first thing that I would do differently if I was starting over on YouTube from scratch is focus more on getting traffic from the homepage rather than from search results. I have spent so much time over the past 10 years trying to make my videos show up in search results. And don't get me wrong, that isn't necessarily a bad strategy. I just don't think it's the best strategy anymore, but it depends on what you're trying to do. Obviously, I was able to see some pretty good growth by focusing on searchability. And I think for people that are using YouTube as a marketing platform for your already existing business, it can be really effective at generating leads because you're directly targeting people that are searching for answers to questions that you can answer, or maybe problems you can even solve with your product or service. So it works really well as like a passive lead generator that way. But if you want to grow as a content creator, as an influencer, if that is kind of your primary goal with YouTube, then this is going to be a really slow and steady way to do it, and you might not really end up with the results that you're hoping for. That's why I've really come to realize that, especially from the creator perspective, not as much from the business perspective, but as a content creator who wants to build an engaged audience here on YouTube, you really need to focus on getting your content on the homepage. This is especially true since YouTube has switched its focus kind of away from subscriptions. You'll notice if you go to youtube.com, it defaults to your homepage. It's all about getting your content surfaced in the recommendations algorithm. Okay, so how do you actually do that? Well, the primary thing is to focus on two main metrics that YouTube loves to look at, and that is your click-through rate and your watch time. The way you increase your click-through rate is having really effective titles and thumbnails. These are thumbnails that people cannot help themselves but click on. They're curiosity-inducing. They tell the first sentence of a story that you can't wait to hear the rest of. And titles that are effective are short, punchy, to the point, and again, generate that curiosity. And it's very important that you follow up an effective title and thumbnail with a really good, succinct, pacey, and helpful or entertaining video. That's honestly the most important thing. Make really good videos that people want to watch to the very end, and then market and package those videos very well with a title and thumbnail that people can't help themselves but click on. Okay, so let's talk about in tangible terms what I would do if I was starting over from scratch in order to focus more on the homepage rather than search results. First of all, I put my energy into planning videos that have a really strong concept and a great title and thumbnail idea paired with them. I think the best thing you can do here is really follow your gut and think about what kind of ideas or video concepts really intrigue you and make you feel curious, make you want to do research and write down your video idea and like start creating it. Whatever makes you feel the most excited and inspired. In my experience on this channel, those are the videos that perform the best because other people are also curious about it. Now, if I was truly starting from scratch, the way that I would approach this is a balanced kind of approach that still takes search results into consideration a little bit, but primarily focuses on the homepage. So what I mean by that is if you're starting a brand new like lifestyle channel, for example, I do think it is good to fill in your initial content calendar with some of that base content that kind of performs well on every channel and people might be searching for, but it's also important that you frame that content in a way that's going to be really enticing and clickable. So ideally it will also perform well on the homepage. So what I mean by this kind of base content is stuff like fashion hauls, routine videos, get ready with me, reset days, like that kind of stuff that you see a lot of. Like people understand what it is, and that kind of helps that process of like getting someone to click on it go a little bit faster because they understand before they even click on the video what that format is going to look like based on their past experience with consuming content on YouTube. So use those kind of typical formats and trends to your advantage, and I would lean into that more heavily at the beginning of your content creator journey and then kind of slowly replace those pieces in your content calendar with more of your own unique concepts that you really want to create. But I do think it helps in the beginning just a little bit to familiarize your audience with the kind of content that you're going to create, and those shorthands work really well on YouTube because people understand what a routine video is or what a haul video is. That being said, if you really don't want to create any of those kinds of like base content videos in the long term, I would caution you against making them at all, because what you don't want to happen is for one of your kind of like throwaway haul videos to go viral and then all of a sudden your subscribers only want to watch hauls and you hate making them. That's kind of like the worst case scenario. So try to find those types of base content that fit with the kind of thing you could see yourself making long term and incorporate that more heavily into your strategy at the beginning and slowly replace it with more of your own unique video concepts. But most importantly, make sure all of these videos have a really good title and thumbnail. Also, I was gonna wait to say this at the end of the video, but I thought this example was too helpful. So I actually am kind of starting from scratch over on my travel vlog channel, and I share like van life vlogs, travel vlogs, that kind of thing. But one of the base content type videos on that channel is our van tour. So you can see how that's like a really standard format that a lot of people understand and easily recognize, and that has the most views on our whole channel. And then the other videos are more like my own creative concepts that I really want to make, but hopefully that tour will help to bring people to the channel. Okay, this next change is a bit of a personal one and it might not apply to anybody, but I'm gonna throw it out there in case you could relate. If I was starting from scratch on YouTube, I would focus a lot more on quality over quantity. Here's the thing that you need to know about me. I am pretty much the opposite of a perfectionist. My motto is done is better than perfect, and I have felt that way since I was a small child. Just like ask my mom what my homework looked like as a kid in school, because I would rather just get something finished than spend too much time on it. Deadlines are very important to me. Nothing is more satisfying to me than checking a task off of my to-do list. So I've always just been very focused on pushing videos out there, and I do think that sometimes in the past I could have spent more time really making them as engaging and as effective as I could. Now, what I will say, this trait of mine that I am the opposite of a perfectionist, I don't even know if there's a word for that, but I actually do think that was very, very advantageous for me when I was first getting started on YouTube, just because I didn't have any video experience. Like I learned how to make videos by making YouTube videos. That's how I learned everything about operating a camera, editing in Premiere Pro. All of that stuff was just from trying. And I think if you're in that position and you're totally getting started from scratch, like you've never edited a video before, then it is important to focus on quantity over quality, because that's what's gonna help you improve. However, knowing myself and my history and the fact that I do know how to make videos and all of that stuff now, if I was starting over, I would focus on making the videos really good, because I already have those skills in place and I know how to make a good video. I just need to force myself to spend the time and effort on it. So I think this one is really personal and it depends on your own tendencies. If you are a perfectionist, then you might want to take the opposite of this advice and really push yourself to focus on creating more, because ultimately that's what's going to help you get better. But if you're somebody like me who just loves to push content out there, check it off your to-do list and feel like, you know, okay, I'm on to the next thing now, then maybe you need to push yourself to sit with your videos a little bit longer and really focus on making them as engaging as possible. Okay, so in my starting over scenario, what this practically looks like is only posting one video per week, not more. I know that might still sound like a lot for some people, but in the past on this channel, I've posted 5 times a week, I've posted 3 times a week, and then twice a week, and more recently now I've decided to post once a week here too, so that I can focus on the quality. But in addition to intentionally slowing myself down to just 1 video per week, the second thing that I would do is really sit with each video and make sure that it represents my brand well, that it's entertaining and engaging and fast-paced and doesn't get boring. I just really would want to make sure that every video that I post, I feel proud to share. Because when you feel that about your video, chances are it is just a better video and it's probably gonna perform better for you as well. This last one is all about the mindset, and if there is one thing that I would really like to change about how I approach YouTube from scratch the second time around, it would be not letting the fluctuating views get to me. I can't even tell you how many times I've cried over YouTube. It can be probably a little bit embarrassing to admit, actually. You know, in some ways, I honor that. I acknowledge those feelings because obviously it shows you just how important this has been to me over the past several years. But at the same time, it definitely wasn't necessary for me to go through that strife. So much grief, so much turmoil, just over the numbers that showed up in YouTube Studio. What I've learned over the past 3-ish years of having an audience and doing this for my job is that views are going to fluctuate. When your channel first starts to take off and grow, you see the graphs and you think, great, things are just gonna keep going up and up and up forever. But the fact is that is not how it goes. I mean, just look at this graph. This shows my daily view count since just before my channel blew up. Trust me, before the beginning of this graph, there's like 8 years of flat line. But you can see I've had these moments of huge growth and then it kind of, you know, dies back down again, and then it'll go up and then come back down. I can tell you exactly what each of these peaks are from. We've got my Instagram story hacks era. That's what really took my channel off, and things died back down again later on that year. And then we had the TikTok tutorial era at the very beginning of the pandemic, which honestly I just got lucky with because I had been kind of experimenting with TikTok since like the fall, or like actually late summer of 2019. So I started making tutorials for it, and then everybody just started searching for those in March of 2020. And then more recently, I don't really have any big spikes like that, but I have had a bit of a surge in views from a few more modest hits, including the sudden rise of UGC, why you need to start a YouTube channel, and how I make and post my Instagram reels. Honestly, would I love for the graph to just keep going up and up and up? And do I wish that would happen? Yeah, for sure. I still continue to feel frustrated and insecure about the number of views that I get, even though I know that me 3 years ago would be amazed by the kind of views that I get on my YouTube videos. But that's just life on YouTube. As you see growth, you get used to that new level of views, and then you always think that you should have more. Or you get a bunch of high views on a number of videos that are real bangers, and then you kind of return to equilibrium, and that feels like going backwards, even though it's not. You're just kind of slowly making your way up that mountain, and you're not always going to be making a ton of forward progress. I think this just comes down to being gentle with yourself and still working towards your goals without like beating yourself up when you don't have like a massive hit. So what I would practically do if I was starting from scratch on YouTube is I would try not to let the views get to me too much, but I would still pay attention to the performance of my videos and try to let that guide me in terms of, okay, my audience clearly is interested in this, let me try to make more of it. And I would also probably work on trying to turn off the YouTuber side of my brain when I just go out into regular life, because I think that's just like a level of work-life separation that's important, especially as you start to see YouTube as your work. And try not to let your success on YouTube define your worth as a person, because trust me, been there, done that, and it doesn't feel great. Honestly, this is probably the hardest thing to do of all the changes that I've talked about in this video, but it's probably also the most important. And honestly, I'm trying to actually implement all of these hypotheticals on my real Start Over channel, which is my travel vlog channel called Katie and Dan in a Van. I'm kind of finally allowing myself to live out my travel vlogger dreams with this channel, and I'm implementing everything that I've learned on this long journey to try to make growing that channel a little bit more smooth. And actually it's going really well so far. I recently passed 1,000 subscribers, and I made a video talking about everything that I've learned in that process so far and what I think really contributed to getting that channel from 0 to 1,000 subscribers. So if you want to learn about that process, then check out this video next. And more than anything, I just want to wish you all of the best on this YouTube journey. I can't wait to see where you'll go in 2023. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having adventures and following your dreams, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.